Funny how people unsubscribe from your life without notice. One day they swear forever, the next they're gone. But hey, if you're here, hit subscribe. It's free, unlike loyalty. I was 24 when I got the news, potentially cancerous cells in my breast tissue. My mother had died from breast cancer, just as both my grandmothers had before her. The doctor gave me a choice: wait and see if the cells turn deadly, or get ahead of it with a double mastectomy. I chose survival. No one warned me about the extent of the scarring. The first time I saw myself in the mirror after the surgery, I felt sick. Long, thick scars stretched across my chest, a permanent reminder of what I had lost. My self-image crumbled. I avoided mirrors, avoided leaving my flat, avoided feeling like myself. Therapy helped, but not enough. My therapist suggested consulting a plastic surgeon, and that's when I learned that implants could hide the scars. I had been naturally large, an F cup before the surgery, so I opted for slightly smaller DD implants. The scars were concealed, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I could breathe again. Months passed. Life started to feel normal. Then, at work one day, I was having lunch with a friend, laughing about an upcoming holiday, when she joked about my implants exploding on the plane. It was an inside joke, nothing cruel, just something lighthearted between friends. But Jill, a coworker who had no idea about my history, overheard. She spread the word like wildfire. To her, I had simply gotten a boob job. From that moment, she hated me. Whispers turned into jokes, always just loud enough for me to hear. Fake in two ways. More plastic than Barbie. The first time, I ignored it. The second time, I gritted my teeth. The third, fourth, fifth, each time I asked her to stop. Each time she didn't. Today I snapped. We were having lunch, Jill included, when our coworker Bob started venting about his daughter wanting to marry a guy who had nothing going for him. I made a casual comment about him being a little shallow. Jill pounced. "Well, you know all about being shallow," she said, smirking as she gestured at my chest. The words hit like a slap. I took a deep breath. And then I spoke. "Do you know why I have these?" I asked, my voice steady, controlled. "A few years ago, doctors found potentially cancerous cells in my breast tissue. I was advised to get a double mastectomy. I was left with huge, ugly scars across my chest. I went to therapy, saw a cosmetic surgeon, and got implants, not for vanity but so I could look at myself in the mirror without breaking down in tears. So maybe next time you want to judge someone for having cosmetic surgery, you should ask them why they had it first." The room was silent. I picked up my food and left. Now the fallout begins. Some coworkers say I overreacted. Others say Jill was just joking. And now HR wants to see me. Someone has filed a complaint. Jill has a friend in HR. I don't know if I'm walking into a fair discussion or a trap. Tomorrow I find out. By the end of the day, the office had divided. Some colleagues came up to quietly offer support. Others told me I was overreacting, that Jill was just joking. I responded the same way each time. Jill was being cruel long before I was. Then the email arrived. HR wanted to see me. The reason? Allegations of creating a hostile work environment. The term struck me as odd. It's primarily used in American workplaces, not typically in the UK. But it was what they said over the phone. And the person handling it? Debbie. Debbie, Jill's friend in HR. I could see what was happening. If Debbie was the one reviewing my case, I was walking into a setup. If I let this play out on their terms, I wouldn't stand a chance. But I wasn't about to go down without a fight. Preparing for battle. I remembered something buried deep in my employment contract. There was a clause about impartiality in complaints. It stated that if I believed my assigned reviewer was biased, I had the right to request a different overseer. I dug through my files, found the clause, highlighted it, and made a photocopy. Then I went to work collecting evidence. I messaged every colleague who had ever witnessed Jill's insults firsthand. I needed statements, written and signed. Some were hesitant. Jill had friends in high places and crossing her was a risk. But 16 people came forward. Their letters all followed a similar structure. My name is name, and I work with Jill, last name, and my name. On date, at time, I spoke with Jill, during which she referred to my name as quoted insult. I found this inappropriate as it directly targeted her appearance. I am willing to go on record to state that Jill has been discussing my name in this manner for 3 months, making me uncomfortable and contributing to a hostile work environment. Signed, name. Some statements included bullet point lists detailing every instance of Jill's cruelty, not just toward me but toward others. Insults about a colleague's weight. A racist comment about someone's nose. Her toxic behavior wasn't just limited to me, she had left a trail of victims in the office. By morning, I had a folder filled with evidence. The showdown. At 10 a.m., I walked into HR, my folder clutched tightly in my hands. Debbie stood up from her desk, ready to lead me into the meeting room. I didn't budge. Instead, I turned to the other HR employee in the room and asked, "So, my meeting is with you then?" Debbie frowned. "No, you're with me." I met her gaze, my heart pounding, but my voice stayed calm. "I'd like to request an impartial overseer." And just like that, the game changed. I stood my ground. "This wouldn't sit well with me," I said, my voice steady. "My contract states I have the right to an impartial overseer." As I spoke, I pulled out the contract page from my folder, holding it firmly in my grasp. I wasn't about to let it out of my sight, not with a shredder sitting far too close for comfort. Debbie's eyes flickered over the highlighted clause. "I can be impartial," she muttered. I gave her a small, polite smile. "I really don't mean to be a pain," I said, "but I have it on good authority that the person on the other end of this complaint, Jill, is a close friend of yours. And my contract explicitly states that I'm allowed an impartial reviewer." Debbie's jaw clenched. Then, without another word, she stomped off to get a supervisor. The review begins. The supervisor arrived, his expression unreadable. He looked between me and Debbie. "How do you know she can't be impartial?" he asked. I met his gaze and answered clearly, "Because Jill, who filed the complaint, is her close friend." The supervisor turned to Debbie. "Is that true?" She crossed her arms. "I can be impartial." A deep sigh. Pause. Then finally the supervisor motioned to another HR rep and said, "All right. The four of us will review the complaint together." I thanked them for being accommodating, trying to hide the relief in my voice. I wasn't sure if I had annoyed them, but I had forced their hand. Debbie, however, looked murderous. She had expected to fire me. At the very least, she had planned to recommend my termination. But now she had to sit through the entire review. The interrogation. The interview lasted over half an hour. They asked the same questions over and over, just phrased in different ways. Here's the condensed version. Question: you said earlier that you think Jill reported you. What? A. Jill has had an issue with me for about 3 months now. Question: why didn't you come to us about it earlier? A. I had no issue with her. Question: what issue does Jill have with you? A. 4 years ago, a specialist found potentially cancerous cells in my breast tissue. I had a double mastectomy to remove them. Afterward, I was left with severe scars. My therapist recommended a plastic surgeon, who suggested breast implants to help me feel comfortable in my own skin again. Jill found out about the implants but not the cancer. I sat at my desk, staring at my screen. My CV was open, ready. I had done everything I could. Now all I could do was wait. An hour passed. Then, one by one, the people who had written letters of support or had been present in the lunchroom started getting called in. Each of them was gone for about 10 minutes. Jill, however, was noticeably absent from the lineup. I tried to focus on work, but my heart pounded with every person that returned from HR. Then finally, Jill's name was called. She disappeared into the office for half an hour. When she returned, her face was like thunderclouds before a storm. She glared at me. Art. I refused to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. At 4:30, she was summoned back to HR. At 5 o'clock, as the office was packing up for the day, Jill stormed back in. She didn't sit down. She didn't look at anyone. She just grabbed a box, started shoving her things into it, and seethed. Then, loud enough for everyone to hear, she hissed, "She got me fired." She pushed past people, heading toward the lift, fuming. I heard her muttering to anyone who would listen, spinning her own version of events, blaming me. I didn't respond. A final email from HR popped up in my inbox. Case closed. Jill was gone. A lesson in standing your ground. This story isn't just about workplace drama. It's about standing up for yourself, even when you're afraid. Jill thought she could bully me. She thought she could turn people against me. She thought she could weaponize HR to silence me. But truth and persistence won. For anyone out there who has been made to feel small, who has been shamed for their body, their choices, their past, your story matters. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your decisions. You don't have to justify why you do what you need to feel whole. And above all, never let anyone make you feel like you have to suffer in silence. If this story resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Have you ever faced something similar? And if you believe in the power of standing your ground, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because stories like these deserve to be heard.